This is new and different. We're very, very excited to be here in our fourth fantastic event of the year. Has everyone purchased their Powerball tickets? That's it? Seriously, $1.2 billion and there's 4 hands up in the air. You guys have to go hit 7-Eleven. Crazy. Okay, so I wanted to thank very much our generous host this evening, Coulter Homes, on behalf of Selene Residences and the 100 Las Olas Penthouse. We all look forward to seeing that too. We're excited to learn all about these amazing projects in just a few moments. We are also quite honored to welcome the CEOs of 2 of our state's most important real estate organizations, Margie Grant from Florida Realtors, Deanna Hall from Broward, Palm Beaches, and St. Lucie Realtors. Applause for those powerhouse duo. They're going to enlighten us on the critical issues facing our industry in just a few moments. Margie, we welcome you back and appreciate making the journey to be with us. And Deanna, we're delighted to have you join us for the first time. Master brokers, I wanted to share some illuminating data with you. There's so much going on in our world, and we're all following a lot of research and tidbits. And while we're super excited, the world is in some level of normancy. The market's going a little bit nuts, but inventory is coming back. We're keeping a watchful eye. Personally, because I'm so entrenched in the condominium market, I saw just last week from Anna Buzovec, Anna Analytics, who spoke at our last event, Pompano Ritz-Carlton, and she does unbelievable research. And while this is relating to the Miami market, I find that we follow macro trends up in Broward and Palm Beach. In Miami, the third quarter of 2022, when we compare the rate of $2,000 per square foot condo sales pre-COVID, there were only 36 sales at this level. In 2019, only 20. But last year, there were 145 sales of condominiums of $2,000 per square foot. And already this year, 175 sales this year. It's an increase of 775% pre-COVID. So much to applaud. We have so much going on in our economy and interest rates and our international markets that are picking up. But that was a really interesting tidbit. I wanted to make sure that you all follow Anna Analytics. So the extraordinary appetite for luxury South Florida real estate is not slowing down, as other markets may reject capital and it continues to surge into our region. Before we begin, a few acknowledgements. First, a big hand for our Master Broker Forum Advisory Board members. Please stand so everyone can see you. Or don't, but you can wave. Hi, Tim. I see you all back there. Thank you very much for all that you do in advancing MBF. And of course, our Executive Director, Jason Raymond. Thank you very much, Jason, for all that you do. And let's take a moment to welcome City National Bank, the chapter's financial services sponsor, represented by our friend Rich Campanella. And Carol, I know you're here too. We see you back there. Rich and everyone from City National, keep in mind for master brokers, as interest rates change and the economy faces an uncertain future, we are blessed to have such a dynamic relationship with this extraordinary company. I encourage you to speak with Rich about City National's unmatched home loan products and services and to really enjoy the personal experience and attention. Thank you, Rich. And now, to tell us about the Selene and 100 Las Olas Penthouse, please welcome Senior Sales Executive Gigi Giusti, who also happens to be a master broker. All right.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Oh, I accidentally knocked this off. Okay. Thank you guys all for being here with us tonight. I know you guys are all top producing brokers in the area and have very, very busy schedules. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to be here with us tonight. I'm going to give you guys a quick little update on 100 Las Olas, but first I want to introduce the rest of our sales team. This is Mark Shannon and Dave Shalcup. They're also on the sales team. We've had the pleasure of working with a lot of you that are in the room tonight, some of you more than once. And so they're going to give you a quick rundown on the project, and then I'll go ahead and give you a quick update on 100.
Terrific. All right, guys. So again, I'm Dave Shalcup, Mark Shannon, Gigi. And as you guys were probably having cocktails, you saw right across. If you hadn't looked, I encourage you to go look. But that's the Selene site. It's right to the south of us. And it's very exciting because it's an active construction site now. We're pouring our pilings. We plan on going vertical over the next couple months. And the project just has a huge success. We're just over 70% sold. That said, we have premium residences remaining. I would say with the exception of 5, they're all direct ocean residences. We have 2-bedroom plus dens, and then we have 3 bedrooms plus family rooms, dens. So we really have an incredible mix. So I encourage y'all to take a closer look. But as y'all heard, Coulter Urban is the developer. Coastal Construction is the contractor. If that name seems familiar, they just finished the 4 Seasons on Fort Lauderdale. So they're going to be taking over the project for us. And Kobe Karp is the architect. So Mark's going to give you a couple details kind of on how it starts out from the lobby level and the entrance, and then some of the amenities, and we'll keep going from there.
Yeah, this will be quite brief. Literally, we just wanted to introduce ourselves, give you guys an opportunity to meet some of the sales crew here, but also just to highlight something that's very important. You guys are our clients. The vast majority of our sales are coming through the agent and the broker community. So first of all, thank you so much. And we operate it as a team. We have a sales office located right over here on Sunrise Boulevard. We're open every single day. You can come, you can make an appointment, or you can walk right in, and it doesn't matter who you deal with. We all work as a team to try and make sure that you guys do your job and give you the resources that you can or that you need to basically show your clients in a pre-construction way what we're proposing. So as you've seen from some of the illustrations, we have literally 2 towers going up. They're going up simultaneously. The price point really at this stage starts at $2.5 million. Most of our units are premium units. They're in the 3s, the 4s, the 5s. But as Dave alluded to, we recently announced the release of some of our penthouse residences that are going to be absolutely spectacular. Really 5,000 to 5,500 square feet, and they're flow-throughs. That means every unit has sunrise view and sunset view. They also have double terraces. They're spectacular. So we have all the renderings. We have visual aids. We have drone photography. We can supply your clients with all this information. We can share our screen at the office and basically make it seamless, even if they're out of town. So like I said, we just wanted to introduce the project to you. We're going to be around all night. So if you want to take one of us aside, we're going to hopefully answer any of your questions.
As far as, what's that? So for the square footages, they're primarily from around 2,400 square feet up to 3,200 square feet. And then our penthouses are 2 residences per floor. So the top 2 floors are penthouses, but they're full flow through. But as far as your clients are concerned, if they come in and they're interested in reserving, it's a 10% deposit at contract, 10% 90 days later, and 5% 90 days after that. So it's a total of 25% when you go to contract.
Dave, I'm gonna just one more thing. Sorry, guys. This is just anecdotal. We ask every one of our buyers why they ended up choosing Selene. And like I said, we're 72% sold. It's been one of the best projects that Coulter Urban has ever launched. And obviously with the sales team at Douglas Elliman, the units are moving. But we ask everyone, why did they choose Selene? And a lot of them have a very similar anecdote. A lot of them have been coming to the Ritz-Carlton here for years. They know this area. They're just so comfortable with the beach, the location, And when they actually saw new construction coming out of the ground here, they're coming to us. So just think about that. Now that you're on site, you can see exactly where we're building. I just wanted to share that with you because sometimes the units themselves sell, like the project sells itself in so many ways.
So a quick update on 100 Las Olas. I know that many of you have already been there, have seen several of the units when we were in the phase of selling the remaining units there. And at that time, we had the most spectacular penthouse. It wasn't finished yet, which now it is. The developers have gone ahead and finished the entire penthouse. It's just over 5,200 square feet, 4 bedrooms plus a den, 6.5 bathrooms. It's priced at $6.3 million, and we have staged it with furniture. I would be more than happy to give you guys a private tour of it. If you want to call me and set up any day to go over there and kind of do a little walkthrough. If you want to get some video footage to put on your social medias, it shows really, really nice, especially now that it's furnished. It's a beautiful 2-story, one-of-a-kind penthouse. I have not seen something this magnificent in the downtown area. 20-foot ceiling heights. It's as soon as you walk into the great room, it is like a breathtaking view. And if you guys have buyers in this price range, I strongly recommend you come and see it for yourselves and definitely do some video footage because it shows really, really nice. And if you have any questions about that, just let me know. Like Mark and Dave mentioned, we're going to be sticking around here for a while. So any questions you guys have on either of the 2 projects, Selene or 100 Las Olas, we'll be here to answer your questions all night. And I think that's it. That wraps up our time.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you both. Gigi, what is the price of the penthouse? $6 million. Okay, fantastic. And a couple details. Selene, when are you expecting occupancy? Great. And brokerage co-broke? How much? 3%. And how do you pay?
35% at contract, 30% after the second deposit, and then the last remaining 35% at closing.
Great. So just motivating our team so they have all the details, little important moments like that. So thank you very, very much. Now to today's panel discussion. Our moderator is uniquely qualified to direct this conversation as one of South Florida's top brokers and as an experienced leader in the Realtor Associations represented here today. Master Brokers Forum board member Jim Balistrieri, my great colleague and dear friend, is the co-owner of Balistrieri Real Estate and Integrity Title. He is the former president of the Greater Fort Lauderdale Realtor Association, as it was known at the time, a director of Florida Realtors for many years, and a current member of the Florida Realtor Executive Committee. Prior to joining Balistrieri Real Estate, Jim was a project manager and an estimator for a major commercial general contracting firm, and he holds the Florida General Contractor License. Please welcome Jim Balistrieri.
Thank you, Carolyn. I didn't know I was holding a position on the executive board at Florida Realtors. So, but if you'd like me to do it, I might accept. I was thinking in 1999, we were bragging about the fact that Fort Lauderdale Realtors was one of the largest in the state. We had just broken 6,000 members, 6,000 members. That was 1999. So thank you, Carolyn. Welcome, Master Brokers. What a beautiful setting we've had this evening. I was standing looking over the site, and I was looking back and seeing how much fun everybody was having. And I think that's so important today is for us to connect on a social and a personal level so we can conduct more business together. So that was beautiful. Certainly an interesting time in our region and market. More down to earth period in the cycle from where we left, pandemic and pre-pandemic. Tremendous opportunities for residential focused realtors, We get to really practice our craft, especially as we have now entered a traditional season of buyers and sellers. We face some challenges and headwinds, some transformational changes to the way we perhaps are accustomed to doing business. The good news is that we have two great powerhouse leaders of our industry with us today. They'll shed some light on three core issues of concern that we might have commonly in this room, namely the Department of Justice challenge to our longtime commission structure, the dramatic rise in procuring cause issue disputes within our ranks, the state of Florida's new condo laws in the wake of the Surfside Champlain Towers tragedy. If time permits, we'll also dive into a couple other topics that are on the ballot and facing us here in Florida. So we're going to introduce now our panelists. But before I do, I have to ask, does anybody have a good joke? Peter? So I'll tell you what, I don't know how good it is. It's got one little sort of word in it. It's just a three-letter word. But so this beautiful, beautiful lady in Beverly Hills, she's quite a successful, just like you folks, selling real estate in Beverly Hills. I mean, one of the top. Her husband was a renowned plastic surgeon. Money was not an issue, but she, like you, enjoyed her profession and trade in California there selling luxury real estate. But when she turned 40, everything seemed to change for her. She couldn't create a transaction to save her life. She felt her health and her beauty was going south rapidly, and she fell into deep depression. She shared this with her husband. He was her best friend. And he said, "Honey, you're beautiful. Don't worry. It's just a season." She was very troubled. He said, "Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you go to the doctor? Have him do a complete checkup on you and see how you're doing physically and otherwise." She says, "Okay, dear." She does. She goes to the doctor. The doctor does all the numbers on her. He looks at her. He says, based on the numbers, he says, you're absolutely in the most beautiful condition you could ever. And he sees, besides that, everything, your skin is just perfect, everything. She says, "Well, I don't feel that way, doctor." He says, "Well, try this. Go home, get naked, stand in front of the mirror, and look at yourself, and just chant, 'I am beautiful. I am beautiful.'" She says, "You think so?" He says, "Yes, try it." So she does. She goes home that afternoon. She's feeling pretty encouraged. She undresses. She's in front of the mirror, and she's chanting, "I am beautiful. I am beautiful." Her husband walks in. He says, "Dear, what are you doing?" "Just as you told me. I went to the doctor. He said, everything's perfect. I still don't feel well." He said, "Stand in front of the mirror naked and chant, 'I am beautiful.'" He says, "Well, what did he say about your ass?" She says, "Your name never came up in the conversation." Margie Grant. So let me introduce Margie to us. I am beautiful. I am. So, when I was president, my mama didn't raise a fool. So, so things are a little different. Not that back in 1989, it was sort of a good old boys network. And it kind of just was. It's just the way things were. So I figured, I said to the folks, I said, if you want to get something done, hire a man and get them involved. And if you want to get it done right, hire a woman. So thank God the great leaders of Women's Council of Realtors came to my rescue. Margie Grant, the Chief Operating Officer, the CEO of Florida Realtors, the largest professional trade association in Florida, the largest association of realtors in the country. The largest association of realtors in the country. 230,000? 230? Tomorrow, 229. Margie is a certified association executive, holds the Realtor Association certified executive designation, earning recognition for specialized industry knowledge, as well as association achievement and experience. Margie has been recognized as an industry leader. I know these things bore us. For her dedication and hard work, she's been named the Swanepoel Power 200 list for the most powerful leaders in residential real estate for several years, including 2022. Under Margie's watch, Florida Realtors was selected as one of the top workplaces in Central Florida in 2021 by the Orlando Central. And the State Association was recognized as one of Florida Trends Magazine's top 100 best companies to work for in 2022. Congratulations, Margie. Margie joined Florida Realtors in 2005 and served the association as its chief operating officer, general counsel before becoming CEO. A big master broker welcome for Margie Grant.
I now owe Jim $5.
No, I'm not that inexpensive. However, both kids are out of college and now they're funding me. Deanna Hall, CEO of the Beaches MLS and the Broward, Palm Beaches, and St. Lucie Realtors with 43,000 subscribers, 41,000 members, the third largest local realtor association in the country. That's us, folks. Sorry, my teleprompter just went out. Her MLS and associate credit her with numerous accomplishments, including facilitating their last two mergers with one of the largest in the NAR history, seamlessly rebuilding their MLS after their regional MLS dissolved, and implementation of a nationally recognized customer service program. Deanna's organization fields over 5,000 weekly phone calls while maintaining a 97% pickup rate. So all the calls that come in, 97% they pick up. In 2019, the association and the MLS launched a new brand, setting it apart from other organizations with a fresh and engaging look that depicts the South Florida market. Beaches MLS has almost 30,000 active property listings, and in 2021, participants completed over $28 billion in transactions. Deanna currently serves on the NAR Association Executive Committee, as well as other industry groups. She's also named for the 5th year to the Swanepoel Power 200 list, a ranking of the top real estate professionals throughout our industry and the United States. Thank you for joining us, Deanna Hall.
Good evening, everyone.
I won't read the whole thing to you. It says here, and this is how it begins, it says, under all is the land. Upon its wise utilization and widely allocated ownership depends on the survival and the growth of free institutions in our civilization. Realtors should recognize that the interests of the nation and its citizens require the highest and best use of the land and the land and the widest distribution of land ownership. They require the creation of adequate housing, the building of functioning cities, the development of productive industries and farms, and the preservation of a healthful environment. Your National Code of Ethics. Under all is the land. Procuring cause. While the pandemic supercharged a residential seller's market here in Florida over the past 2 years, it also has led to a spike in procuring cause disputes. What do you think was the biggest factor for the disputes or the spike in disputes? The many new and inexperienced agents, perhaps, who entered the business, the flakiness of consumers, perhaps, who switched agents in the middle of a home search, or the sheer number of properties changing hands. Who would like to tackle that? Deanna?
Go ahead.
Margie?
Well, anytime that you have a market that is, as quick moving as we've seen lately, that is when your procuring cause cases are going to go up, right? I mean, the market is frantic. There's multiple offers on every property, and consumers are nervous that if you don't return their phone call right away, they move on to the next agent. So that is, what we've seen right now on a local realtor association level is that, these procuring causes situations are, consumers that reached out to multiple, agents. They probably didn't have a buyer agency agreement that, was easy to prove that they were representing them in the first place. So again, another reason why to use that. And the market was hot. So, a lot of people feel like they, should have had the home when, quite frankly, there's a lot of different deals that were on that property, and, that person felt slighted.
Gotcha. Margie, let me ask you this question. It says, if I was on either side of a procuring cause dispute, what facts, evidence, and testimony would I want to gather to prove my case?
Sure thing. So besides buyers behaving badly, as Deanna referenced, that's probably the number one problem that leads to procuring cause is you've got a fickle buyer who does the wrong thing. But then you have a concept. Remember that procuring cause to win, you have to be able to prove an uninterrupted series of events that led to a successful transaction, i.e. a closing. So no closing, no commission. So start with that. But then in terms of building a case to defend your agent to make sure they actually retain or can recover their commission, there are two things that come up constantly. One is a concept called estrangement. One is a concept called abandonment. Abandonment one's a little bit easier. Do any of you have agents or team members who took a vacation last year? The demand for travel right now in this country is legendary. And one of the places that they have flocked to return, and which is surprising to me, are cruises. Because they're inexpensive, people were really afraid of them, they were COVID hotbeds, and so now they're looking at prices and opportunity and the timeline and the ability to just turn off. Ladies and gentlemen, as part of your training program, you need to be asking your team members and asking your agents, if you're out of the office or the country, what is your plan in terms of servicing your current customers? And they might say, but I'm on vacation. Procuring cause waiting to happen. Because it is honestly without fail that the day that I go off on the cruise and I don't have internet that first day, and this is the day I'm going to spend at the bar with my husband and counting my children, making sure no one went overboard, that is when the buyer is going to drop the dime and decide today is the day I'm going to put an offer in on this house. And how many of you have that buyer calling your front desk? Who are they calling? They are calling or their buyer representative's cell phone number. And their buyer representative is not answering. So you have to make sure that you're not inadvertently abandoning the buyer. Your agent did not mean to do this, but you have to be the one in front of your agent saying, have an amazing trip. What is your plan? And then there's another side to that. Okay, that's your plan. Did you tell the buyer your plan? Because that can lead to estrangement. Deanna is my buyer representative. I call her and I get her voicemail and it says, hi, I'm on a cruise. Please call Jim at this number. Who the hell is Jim? I call Jim. Jim's annoyed. He forgot that Deanna's on vacation. He's a little short with me. And I am like, you know what? I'm done. Well, he may be beautiful, but he's annoyed with me. I'm annoyed with him. I want to write this offer. I've been in the market for this long. I feel like it's finally cooling. I'm a cash buyer. I'm ready to go. I am now going to hang up and either call the listing broker or call one of you, or heaven forbid, go to an open house covered by an agent that's not the listing broker, because now we got just way too many people at the party and I can't even referral fee it out. But you just have to remember that it's just about making good decisions. Good decisions. Hey, Margie, I'm going on a cruise. Could you jump on a quick call with me and my partner, Jim? Just jump on a quick call. Hey, I don't really have time for that. Not a problem, but I want you to know that while I'm away, Jim is available for whatever you need. And then yell at Jim for being mean to me. So those are the kinds of things that when you go into an arbitration hearing, you got to interview your agents. Because the second that there's that procuring cause complaint, you have to know what actually happens. And I call it the rule of bad news doesn't wait. Something happened. A buyer did not walk into the listing broker's office, go to the person at the front desk with a pen in her hand and say, hey, I'd like to write a contract. My first question, if I'm the listing broker, is, hey, where'd you get the pen? Well, the broker that didn't call me back gave it to me. Okay, so now we know we have too many people at the party. So when you build a case to defend or try and recover a commission, the first thing you do before you file that arbitration Interview the agent. Make sure they know that you're on their side, you are their advocate, and all you want to do is get to yes in order to get them paid or to recover the commission that's been denied of them. But also remind them, we wouldn't be in this situation if something didn't go wrong. So we have to figure out what went wrong. And then as the decision maker in the transaction, you have a decision to make. We're right, and we're filing for arbitration to back up our agent. Any of you who have a top producer know you're writing that $500 check without blinking because it's your top producer and you're going to back them up even if they might not be 100% right. Or you're going to look at the situation, look at the junior agent and go, this isn't going to go well. And I don't think we're going to win. Call the legal hotline, have a conversation with one of the attorneys. They will counsel you. And if it sounds like it might not go your way, what's your option? You call
Trying
your
to negotiate.
100%. You call your counterpart. You put it in their lap, you negotiate a referral fee, you get your agent something, it's a learning lesson for them, and you're not losing time and money arbitrating something you're not going to win.
And I just want to add to that remember that at your local association, we have an ombudsman program, and that's where we have somebody who informally mediates for you guys, and it saves you time, money. We have a 90% resolve rate when people use the ombudsman program.
Tell them what that is. I don't know that we know what that is.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have a grievance with somebody, you are upset, you want to file a code of ethics,
Procuring cause.
whatever. And the first thing that you can do is call into the Realtor Association and say that you want to use our ombudsman program. We have a trained professional. We have many trained professionals that will act as your informal mediator. We don't make you sign documents. We don't make you put anything in writing. That is more the mediation process. But usually just picking up the phone and kind of talking it out like Margie just did resolves it most of the time. Obviously, if the ombudsman program doesn't work out, you can go to mediation. Mediation is a little bit more formal, but it still saves you a lot of time and money because you're not going through a full proceeding.
Questions about procuring cause? Try not to speak over each other. Margie, what roles does Florida Realtors play in handling local procuring cause disputes? Is it up to the individual local associations to legislate and adjudicate? Or does the state association have some role to the justice system where cases are sent to quote unquote higher courts?
We are not the appeals court. Your local association is perfectly functioning in order to resolve these disputes. We have a legal hotline for you to call before the case to talk about the procedures and things like that. The other thing Florida Realtors does is that we work with the local associations to fund and provide all training for ombudsmen, mediation officers, and professional standards panelists. That way we know that every single decision maker has been trained the same way and had the same opportunity to make sure that they're informed of the process.
And I want to say at the local level, we've just hired our first in-house legal counsel. Obviously, as these cases continue to get more complex, and there are so many more of them, we have her overseeing this process and attending cases to make sure that hopefully you guys have the best outcome possible.
Excellent. So, well, that leads me to our next question. It says, without naming names or companies like Balistreri, can you give us the broad details of the most entertaining, shocking, and wildest procuring cause cases that maybe we've seen at the local association? I'm sure there are many.
You know, so usually the more entertaining ones are on the code of ethics side. I will tell you that, I mean, with this, really hot marketplace, we've seen, procuring causes that are over commissions, with over $100,000. So huge cases. But I know Margie in her past life and kind of hearing the grievances has probably the best story. So I'm going to
So
leave it to
Margie
her.
was our chief counsel at Florida Realtors, I think before accepting the position and of CEO of Florida Realtors, chief attorney, chief counsel.
I was. So I'm a recovering attorney. It has been approximately 5 years since I last practiced law. And yet to this day, a lot of you, including Jim, will call me personally just to say, can I run something by you? I always, curtail it with, I am no longer a lawyer, but I'm happy to talk. So procuring cause is one of those ones that you all tend to call and you have this kind of funny tone in your voice. So I had a broker actually outside of this market. They're actually further south than Miami. And he and I had known each other for a long time. And I was in the car and he called me and he gave me the series of events. He goes, I just don't understand what happened, Margie. He said, I've got an agent, showed a $1.1 million home. Buyer was really excited about it. Single guy coming down from the Northeast. He'd been down here twice. They'd been fishing. And the next thing we know, he has written the actual contract. After seeing the property twice with my agent, he's written a contract with one of our competitors. What do we do? I said, okay, walk me through a timeline. And the timeline revealed that there had been one visit, one viewing, very, cordial conversation. They had gone fishing. They talked about the numbers. They talked about what they thought the seller would take, things like that. And then the buyer said, okay, I'm going to be back in 3 weeks and I'll be there then. Well, it turns out that the buyer's sister lived locally in the middle of the country and was also a realtor. And apparently the buyer's sister was the referring agent. So on the second showing, they're walking through the home and the buyer said, yeah, I'm really excited. I think this is great. And I'm really happy, that my sister will benefit as well. And the buyer representative got a little short and said, that's none of your business. The referral agreement is between me and the other realtor. I'm not discussing that. Okay, fair enough, right? Is a business person, us all understanding how we do commissions, but you're talking about his sister. Well, apparently the situation didn't go so well. And during the showing, the situation escalated between the two. Allegations were flying about you're not going to pay my sister, him saying you're out of your league here. My job is to sell this house. Your job is to buy it. And apparently, and the best part is this was 3 phone calls. So this was me and the broker. At the end of the first phone call, I said, I need the agent on the phone. The second one that I said, I need you to hang up and I need you to tell me what happened between the second showing and him writing that offer that led him to write it down the street. Third phone call, there was a fist fight in the parking lot between the two of them. Blood was drawn. One of them got an Uber and left. Holy fiasco. Me, I think I know what the problem is. But the agent, and again, what does it go back to? Bad news doesn't wait. Agent doesn't want to tell his broker that he lost a $1.1 million deal because he lost his cool and handled the situation badly. He doesn't want, but that's estrangement, folks. That's estrangement. When the realtor punches you, you don't have to work with them.
Page 2.
Not recommended.
New condo law. Under Florida Condo Safety Act passed this year, all Florida condo associations must have enough money in their reserves to fund all repairs necessary to maintain the structural integrity of all buildings 3 stories or higher. And existing associations must meet this requirement before 2025. While this seems to be a necessary and well-intentioned reform, how will dramatic assessment increases impact the marketplace? So who wants to take it?
Well, Mari has a lot of, and first of all, the state of Florida was really great when this unfortunate circumstance happened in our marketplace. Besides, obviously, the devastation that happened, in that building and the families that were affected, we obviously were in all of our local, communities, facing the situation of what was going to happen next. Luckily, there was a Senate bill. It's called Senate Bill 4D that passed after this tragedy, where it says that condos have to make sure that they are funding the ability for them to do replacement costs in these condos. So that building in particular, they needed about $15 million in repairs, and they had about $700,000 in reserves to handle them. And so what condos have been doing for a very long time, for the most part, is they've been passing on that maintenance. They have had the ability to vote to say, we're not going to, fund the reserve this year and kind of pass it by. And so now that that issue has been, a light has been shown on it, that bill has passed at the Senate level, and actually at the state of Florida, it went through the House, and I believe the governor signed it, that will be no more. But what the effect is that you have a lot of condos out there that are massively underfunded. We estimate about 60% of condos in the state of Florida are over 30 years old. And 30 years old is that threshold for the most part where the condos are under increased scrutiny and need additional maintenance. So I'm going to hand it over to Margie so she can talk a little bit more in detail about that.
The most major impact of this legislation is that condo associations are no longer permitted to waive reserve requirements. They used to have that optional ability. And so this is now going to become a math problem. It is going to basically be, they're going to have to do these inspections, they're going to have to estimate what the repairs are that are needed, and they're going to have to get together as an association and pass a special assessment to somehow shore this up. We're already seeing a lot of associations start this process because they know they have between now and 2025. The legislation isn't perfect. Obviously, there's going to be a major financial impact to some associations where we have fixed income owners who are not going to be able to afford these assessments. Couple things could happen here. One, we might see an increase in inventory because people will liquidate. I also think that we have a large investor population who own a lot of these units, and they may look at the books and say, you know what, I made a lot of money on this unit. I made a lot of money on this unit. I'm going to go ahead and divest myself of it. I'm going to, deal with the special assessment. I'm going to take my proceeds and I'm going to go buy something else. The good news, if there is any good news, and I know that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of these associations right now, condos are one of the hardest things to sell when they're not luxury because we cannot get them financed. Because if you do not have the reserve requirement that's required by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, you don't qualify for a federally insured mortgage. So once we actually have an industry and we have the inventory that actually meets the Fannie and Freddie requirements, these will now become affordable home options. And once you have that in place, you now have a whole new thing to sell. So this is one of those things, the conversation isn't over, the bill isn't perfect. I will share with you quietly, the bill doesn't necessarily contain what happens if you don't meet these requirements. And so that's the legal part of it, but then there's the litigation aspect is if you don't meet these requirements, here come the lawyers. And as you all know, the lawyers are always our biggest problem. So I can say that as a recovering one. So just know that, we're going to go back, we're going to work with the legislature to make sure that we can make this as swallowable as possible. But the message to your unit owners is pay attention, attend meetings, and have a plan.
Wow.
And
that
make
is
sure as
so
the agents
interesting.
representing these condos, right, that you guys are coaching them along the way. So obviously we have a local lobbying team in Broward and Palm Beach County, and we've been meeting with the county governments and the cities, making sure that they're not passing on that burden to the realtors. So that has been a really big effort of ours locally on a lobbying level on your behalf.
Do you guys want to just stand up for a minute, get a little stretch? We're about another 30 minutes and then no, just kidding. That is so interesting. I never considered that. So all these buildings will come in compliance. They can get normal finance. Wow, what an interesting, an unexpected good consequence, huh? How should realtors approach the issue? Let's see.
I think we may have banged out a couple of those questions.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Do you want to maybe skip to?
Yeah, let's
it
skip.
Sounds like how much time do we have left, Jason?
I think with your comments, you covered just about all of that. Sure, Jack.
So I understand what you're saying, but in the real world, do you think there's going to be any kind of compromise between what is proposed to unit owners? Because you're talking a big audience. So do you see anything that might be a middle of the road? Because this transition overnight would kill the condo market.
So yet to be determined. Like I said, there's definitely going to be a supplemental bill to the Senate bill that was passed and signed by the governor. Whether or not they either extend the time frame or they adjust it, I do not think there is an appetite to go back to waiving reserves. I don't think that that exists. I think that the state has a comfort level with there being some issues in trying to get through this because we just had another very tall building in Dade County evacuated because it is structurally unsound. They gave them 7 hours to get out.
And I think right now the bill has till what, 2025 for?
Yes, 2025 is when they have to
I mean, it's
comply.
around the corner, but there's a couple
And the
years
question
there.
to you is, but it doesn't say what happens if you don't comply. And so that's what we have to address.
Show of hands, who is finding the information that Deanna and Margie sharing with us very valuable, huh?
Thank you.
Great job, huh? I'm just, what you all do for us every day is amazing. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about this situation in Orlando, I believe it was, limitation on the assessment of real property used for residential purposes, the additional homestead tax exemption for critical public service workforce, the issue in regards to rent control. If you could cover some of those for us, please.
Sure thing. So every year when you all pay Florida Realtors dues, it's about $150 in total. It includes a $35 advocacy assessment. You probably don't even notice it. You just simply put your credit card in, you write your check, and you get it done. And I thank you for that, as does Deanna. What that $35 does is gives us the ability to fight really stupid legislative or legal ideas. And today's soup du jour was rent control. So about 8 months ago, we started to see municipalities across the state, including Palm Beach County, including Dade County, including Pinellas County, Tampa, Broward, Hillsborough. It was a mess. I was playing whack-a-mole with local governments trying to fight rent control. And this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. It failed in New York. It failed in San Francisco. Those are not what we want Florida to be. And any economist worth their salt will tell you this is the worst thing you could ever do. And as we saw these proposals start to move, especially in Orange County, the Wall Street Journal editorialized with the headline, "Florida is playing with housing suicide." But it's an election year. And therefore, we want to make a statement. Well, there's a statute in Florida that says if a municipality wants to adopt rent control, they have to meet some requirements. And almost every municipality couldn't do that, including Orange. Orange County didn't care. Best part of this entire process of the county commission, their own expert came back with the required study by the statute and said, we don't qualify to adopt rent control. You know what Orange County said?
Who cares?
Okay. Passed, done, on the ballot. Are you kidding? So Florida Realtors partnered with Orange County, and we basically said we're going to cut the head off the snake. And we sued Orange County, and we won. The appeals court just came down and said that Florida Realtors, this happened today, Florida Realtors is entitled to an injunction to stop the invalid and illegal and unconstitutional ordinance for rent control adopted by Orange County, Florida. Done. Woohoo! And the best part was when we filed suit, you know what Miami did? Mayor went on TV and said, we're going to go in another direction. We don't think that rent control is the greatest idea.
And that was kind of, first of all, I mean, luckily for Broward and Palm Beach County, again, our local lobbyists were there because of the fact that we are very strong in government affairs and our efforts. We were able to convince them not to do rent control. But it had already started in Miami. And then obviously we know that what happens in Miami, Broward starts looking at it and saying maybe it's a good idea. Palm Beach County might have a hand in it. So even though Miami was down the road of rent control, in Broward and Palm Beach County, we convinced your local politicians it was a horrible idea. They kiboshed it. It was still waiting and holding for date, but obviously by them knocking this down in Orlando, now all local governments probably in the state of Florida will decide not to pursue rent control.
And there's binding precedent in the appeals court that says to a local government what you cannot do. And they have yet to come up with something that they can do. So listen, we are the biggest advocates for affordable housing. We have been advocating for the SHIP and sale program since its inception. It's been a 30-year fight with the legislature. And it's all been to make sure that everybody has access to housing, both rental and ownership. So we may be the voice for home ownership, but we also know that every single Floridian deserves a safe and affordable place to live.
And with that, you had mentioned many other ballot initiatives. So there's another one that you'll be voting on, which is giving a $50,000 additional homestead exemption to basically first responders, teachers, all that workforce that really needs help. We want them to be in our communities, obviously supporting us every single day. So that was one of your questions. And in Palm Beach County, we have a housing initiative ballot, which we are supporting. And basically what it does is it's a bond that you're voting on, and it's going to give low-income builders a low-interest payment for them to build affordable housing. And we're looking at concentrating that in those corridors and reviving those like really old dilapidated plazas or other areas that need revitalization. So if you're in Palm Beach County and you're a voter, please vote yes for the housing bond.
So probably most of us, being so busy in our businesses, don't realize that we fund and part of our dues for paid advocates at Tallahassee. In all of our local associations, we have experts, paid advocates, fighting for private property rights and for realtors initiatives. Do you want to just share a little bit? And then if you would, turn that into our final question about the issues and Florida realtors' engagement in the mounting insurance crisis here in Florida.
Oh, absolutely. So with regard to our advocacy in Tallahassee, I want to just share a quick story with you. We are known, right or wrong, as a red state on the state level. We are a purple state on the federal level, which means on the federal level, we're about 50% Democrats, 50% Republicans. In state government, we have a supermajority of Republicans. In philosophy, we should not have any friendlies to affordable housing because it's not a Republican issue. And the National Association of Realtors has called Deanna and I and said, we need you to come and talk to us about what just happened in Florida. The realtors, including all of your agents and Deanna's members and my members, went to Tallahassee last session and said, we have a problem. Housing is too expensive in the state of Florida. We have record low interest rates. Let's do something. And do you know what the legislative leadership and the governor did? They unified behind us. And the best part is your president is Christina Pappas. She is a managing broker of the Kai's company. When I called her and I said they seem receptive to this downtown assistance program where they're going to give up to $25,000 to a first-time home buyer to our hometown heroes, our doctors, our teachers, our firefighters, our police. And she said, okay, that's great. That's amazing. And I said, how much do you want me to ask for? We formulated it after this Save a Soldier program. I said, and they gave them about $30 million. She goes, and this is why I love you guys because you're negotiators. She said, ask for $100 million. I had to call the contract lobbyist and say, $100 million. They're like, what? I'm like, $100 million. Just ask. They gave it to us. And they gave it to us because it was a good idea, because they knew you were going to go out and find first-time home buyers who would pull down this money and be able to afford a home. We have already gone through $33 million, and there are 1,800 new home buyers in the state of Florida today.
Wow.
So just know that that's your advocacy at work. That is your red state bringing first-time home buyers to your state. So if you don't invest in RPAC because you feel like we're a red state and we're all Republicans and we're doing terrible things, reconsider. Invest in your profession because your profession will invest in you. We support candidates who support private property rights and the dream of home ownership. That is what RPAC stands for. Any of you who have not invested, please give me a call. I'd love to talk to you.
And just remember, RPAC is what kept you all working during the pandemic. It's how we were deemed essential when nobody else was. So if you don't remember anything else, you guys, I mean, RPAC has your back, it has your wallet, it has your industry, and we encourage you guys to invest.
So tell us a little bit about Florida Realtors and local realtors' involvement in the governor's initiative to look at this critical issue of insurance.
So
And this
the
concludes-
Florida insurance program is a hot mess, and you all know that. You all have seen rates skyrocket. You have all seen insurers leave the state of Florida. You've all had your customers and clients call you and say they've just canceled me. So what I can share with you is the governor and the legislative leadership, as recently as last week, reached out to us and said, we know we still have a problem. They brought it up in special session in June, and that was where they created the backflow issue to try and basically let insurers know that if they would reduce rates, that they would provide reinsurance at a much reduced cost. But all of this takes time. And ladies and gentlemen, how many lawyers are in the room? Okay, I apologize in advance. It's their fault. We have a statute and we have a legal system in this state which allows for one-way attorney's fees, which is an incentive to sue. There is no negotiation, there is no conversations between insurance companies and the insured. Instead, the insured hires a lawyer, a lawsuit is filed immediately. It costs, and so basically now we have 85% of the insurance litigation in this country is in Florida. We have 8% of the policies.
Wow.
So just understand, we know what the problem is. They tried to fix it in what I would call a cooperative way among all of the folks involved, among all the stakeholders. It didn't work. So stay tuned. They're going back, and they're going back very soon.
That is so interesting.
Tort reform, I mean,
Yes.
is it gonna happen in the next 12 months to allow these private insurers to have the confidence to come back to this market, or?
So I can't speak on behalf of your legislature. What I can tell you is that face to face, they have committed to me that they are going to fix this.
Wow.
Because isn't it 25% of any like loss on a named storm, they get a new roof and you know, and then they're just they're just getting sued across the board.
You are 100% right. There was a huge fraud problem, which they actually got in front of. They actually passed legislation to address the fraud problem. They actually had a do not knock provision where you could not actually go and solicit door to door. The courts threw that out. They said it was freedom of speech. But they're aware of all of these issues, and that's what they're working with the insurers on, is whether or not there'll be a different kind of deductible for a roof claim, whether or not there will be different options for this kind of a claim. So everything is on the table. Tort reform is absolutely in that category.
I mean, isn't citizens just being strained to the max?
So you know what? I'm not going to go that far. You ready for this one? Because Citizens is like any other business entity. It expands and then it contracts. It expands and then it contracts. So right now, is it the biggest it's ever been? It is. But I would not say that it's necessarily under huge strain. The state of Florida is extremely well-funded in reserves. And so they have an ability to shore up Citizens if the need happened. The CAT Fund has just come out and talked about their responsibilities under a Hurricane Ian damage, and they can cover it. So right now, we're okay right now. But they know that is a crisis situation and it needs to be addressed. So please stay tuned. I do anticipate this being a moving object in the very near future. And I will tell you, it is probably our number one legislative priority, is to fix the insurance system in this
A
state.
big thank you to your CEOs, Margie and Deanna. Wow. Thank you. So in closing, I just wanted to note the importance. Sometimes we don't recognize the importance of affordable housing, but these are the folks that provide and work in our restaurants and so many of our businesses and really make Florida go. And if we don't have these great people supporting us, we won't have a great neighborhood and community. So these advocacies are so important, and Florida Realtors are on the front line making it happen every day. So let me mention here, what a beautiful evening we've had here at Selene. The drives that are on your desk have wonderful information about this exciting new development. Underneath all is the land. Thank you so much, folks.